At this time tomorrow night, we will be giving you some of the first results from this year's elections. 24 hours from right now, I will be sitting in this very spot. Actually, I think I'm sitting where Chris is going to be sitting. I'll be sitting in a spot really close to this spot, maybe over here, alongside my MSNBC colleagues, and we will be reporting what is happening across the country in the 2010 elections. Now, no matter what happens in any individual race tomorrow night, the aggregate result is sort of clear from here. Republicans are going to pick up seats. Probably Republicans will pick up a lot of seats. In 2006 and in 2008, the last two elections, the aggregate story on election night was the exact opposite. Those were two huge elections for Democrats. And over those last two elections, Democrats picked up a total of 52 seats in the House, 14 seats in the Senate. If predictions for tomorrow's results are borne out, Democrats have a chance at holding on to the Senate, but they will likely lose control of the House of Representatives. It is not a done deal, but that's what everybody is predicting. That means that we are now at an important moment in this country's political history. It took them a couple of elections to do it, but what the Democrats built for themselves over the last few years culminated in 2008 with a Democratic president, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House. That trifecta will likely no longer hold true as of tomorrow night. When the new Congress that's elected tomorrow is sworn in January, we will likely be entering into a period of divided power in this country. Now, the pundits and the political scientists always say that Americans prefer divided power, and maybe that's true. But when government is not divided, like in these past 21 months, when one party controls the executive branch and the legislative branch, it gives you a rare but clear and unobstructed view of what that party stands for, what that party's made of, what that party values. Democrats and liberals especially often criticize their own party for not acting boldly enough when given an electoral mandate. But in this moment, before it is judged by voters, what did Democrats do? What did Democratic politicians do? What did the Democratic Party do with these last 21 months? What did they stand for? What were they made of? It turns out what they were made of was historic.
The White House started this day on a much different note as President Obama signed his first bill into law. The new law makes it easier for workers to sue for pay discrimination.
With the stroke of a pen, another big break from the Bush era. Democrats in Congress have been trying to get this equal pay law through for nearly 2 years. Today it became a reality.
The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act for Women, that was President Obama and this Democratic Congress's first legislative achievement together way back in January of 2009, a bill that had languished in Congress for years. The start of much more legislative achievement to come.
Today, the president signs the bill imposing new rules on credit card companies. The bill is aimed at sparing consumers from sudden interest rate hikes.
Today, President Obama signs a bill that gives the Food and Drug Administration unprecedented power to regulate tobacco. The bill will allow the FDA to reduce nicotine in tobacco products, block labels such as low, tar, and light, and tobacco companies will also have to put large graphic warnings on cartons of cigarettes.
Lester, the president and Democrats can point to one imminent success here in Washington for the marchers. That is the imminent passage of a hate crimes bill that it would make it a federal crime to commit an assault based on sexual orientation.
The Senate has passed a bill that the president has been pushing that would extend government-sponsored health insurance for about 4 million uninsured children.
Children's health insurance, hate crimes legislation, tobacco regulation, credit card reform. Taken individually, all major legislative accomplishments. Taken together, some of the underpinnings of the most legislatively productive 21 months in decades.
The president did make an additional bit of history, a major revamping of how college student loans are going to be handed out for years to come. The legislation ends a 45-year program that provided federal subsidies to banks and private lenders that offered government-backed college loans. Starting July 1st, those guaranteed loans will be offered only by the Department of Education.
Three major figures of the Democratic Party, President Obama, Senator Ted Kennedy, and former President Bill Clinton, all gathered together with Republican Orrin Hatch for the signing of the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act. The bill triples the size of the country's national service programs, which are known as AmeriCorps.
We also have new numbers tonight on just how successful this Cash for Clunkers trade-in program actually was in the end.
Thanks to the Cash for Clunkers program, pretty much entirely to it. It's going to be a pretty solid August in terms of those auto sales.
Bailing out the American auto industry, which worked, by the way, tripling the size of AmeriCorps, America's national service programs, a fundamental reshaping of this country's student loan industry, which, as someone who was up to my neck in student loans for a very long time, I can tell you was an unbelievably stupid system in drastic need of reform. Taxpayers were guaranteeing those loans, so assuming all of the risk, and paying private companies to administer the loans at a profit. So the student loan companies took on no risk and got paid for providing no service other than an insulating, pointless, waste-only layer of bureaucracy. That is now gone at long last. And the savings from that being gone means more loans for more Americans to go to college. Student loans and these other reforms accomplished and signed into law in not even 2 years. And we haven't even gotten to the big ticket items yet.
Less than a month in office, and the president made dramatic history with a simple stroke of the pen.
There you go. Let's go.
Signing into law America's largest economic recovery package ever.
You've certainly heard a lot about the stimulus bill over the last 18 months or so. In terms of its historic oomph, though, and not just the way it's being fought about in this election, consider that the stimulus was the single largest tax cut ever. It was the largest investment in clean energy ever. It was the single largest investment in education ever. Also, there was something that the kids call health reform.
It's as close to universal health care as America will likely ever come, and it will improve the health care of millions of Americans. In size and scope, it's being compared to Medicare and Social Security, and tomorrow, health care reform will be signed into law by the president.
Health reform, the legislative white whale that had eluded Americans for generations. Health costs, the thing in the middle of our deficit and debt fights that nobody ever talks about and that nobody was ever able to do anything about, despite the fact that they were massively responsible for America's fiscal disaster. Health reform, done. Health reform done with the stroke of a pen. Not single payer, not a European-style government system, but a system that will get more than 95% of the country onto health insurance and that will control our raging out of control, nationally disastrous health care costs for the first time ever. Then, 4 months later,
almost 2 years now after the entire banking system almost collapsed, President Obama signed the financial reform bill into law.
With the stroke of a presidential pen, the new financial regulatory reform